for our guest speaker this morning or this evening. I'd like to first, in the absence of my husband, Steve Rogers, want to recognize him and honor him. My brother is on the phone, Ronald. I want to recognize him and honor him. Some of my other siblings may join, so we will recognize them if they join for this evening. I always count it a privilege and a joy when I get the opportunity to introduce the order for this evening. And I don't take it lightly that we affectionately call her mother. She is known not just as mother, but she's an influencer of change, justice, and equality. Queen Mother Dr. Adora Obi Nweze, as she is known to many of you. Ashe. My siblings and I, we grew up watching our mother move with purpose up and down these highways, not only just in Miami-Dade County and or the state of Florida, but this entire country. She didn't just pass through communities, but she poured into them from street corners. Yes, she would be on the corners, talking and walking through school corridors, neighborhoods, knocking on doors that she was raised in, all the way to boardrooms that needed to hear her truth. We witnessed a woman who refused to disconnect from the people she served and she loved. She did not simply advocate, she showed up. Now, I'm going to give you a little anecdote. I remember growing up as a little girl, I would follow my mother everywhere, not by choice, but by command and demand. Yes, she was that type of mother that would give you a look, and that meant come and sit. And I didn't have a choice but to obey. But I just remember growing up beside her, watching her organize. She met, she marched, she spoke with conviction, raising thousands and thousands of dollars for the NAACP, yet boldly remaining every donor. She reminded them that their contributions would never purchase her silence. If you do wrong by our people, she would say, I am coming for you. Ashe. That unwavering courage shaped not only the communities she fought for, but influenced the family she nurtured. Yes, she cooked, she cleaned, she washed dishes, she ironed clothes, she took us to school, she took us to our activities, all while serving her community. The scripture talks about and reminds us in Proverbs 22:6 to train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. That truth lives fully in our family. Ashe. What we witnessed has extended into our children, our grandchildren, great grandchildren, or her great grandchildren, as well as my husband, and definitely all of us as siblings. Her example did not just raise a family, it cultivated a legacy of purpose, conviction, and service. We did not simply hear her lesson, we lived them. For over 50 years, Queen Mother Adora committed her life to education, and half of that to educating our communities on the effect of global warming, equity in the distribution of services after natural disasters through FEMA, ensuring fair treatment in hiring practices, equity in health, criminal justice, economic development, housing, legal redress, telecommunications, and holding elected officials accountable for their promises, all while upholding the fact that the classroom is the one most powerful spaces to shape identity, dignity, and opportunity for all Black children. Ashe. Our mother lived what could be captured in African centered proverbs. When you teach a Black child, you are not only shaping a mind, You are restoring a people, honoring a past, and securing a future. Her work as a teacher, administrator, and leader was never transactional. It was and is transformational. Even her name carries the weight of legacy. Rooted in the richness of the African diaspora, particularly the Igbo culture, Adora reflects beloved grace. Obi speaks to the heart of the inner spirit, and Onweze defines kingship and authority. Together, her name embodies what she has always been, a queen mother, a keeper of the heart of the people, and a leader who carries both strength and compassion. Ashe. Dr. Adora Obi Nweze is more than an educator and civil rights leader. She is a living curriculum. For those of us who have had the privilege to watch her journey up close, we understand that her life's work is not just history to be recorded, but a standard to be lived. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me an honor and a privilege, without further ado, to introduce to some and present to others Queen Mother, Dr. Adora Obi Nweze. Ashe. Mom,
Thank you.
I love you.
Thank you. And I love you too. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I am indeed honored and privileged to have a daughter that would try to give me all she's got on the inside, but yet she doesn't know she's already given it to me before she came this time, as she always does. Thank you so much, Tressa. I want to spend just a few moments talking about what I consider education. And I say I consider education because we seem to not really be able to define education, except for our own way. We end up defining it for the persons we're talking to and what we tell them we expect, because everybody has a different idea. I have identified to share with you, I know that you already know them, but 3 authors, and there are many more authors around this subject of education. But these 3 we're going to start with. And I say that because I'm hopeful that as we move on down the line, we will begin to read other books and read more books, and certainly share them with you as we go along. These particular 3 books are addressing what I think about far more times than I care to share, and that is learning styles. These 3 books speak on their own about how they see it, and it's very important to understand it and to read about it, because then you get to share it, and as you share it, we all start sharing, and then we'll have some real definitions and some real opportunities to help all of our children, as well as their parents and families and friends, as they move along. We'll be able to help them as we read the books and share them. One of the first books I wanted to share, and many of you have already read these books, I wouldn't make an assumption that you haven't, but what I want to do and will do is pull out a different kind of definition, one that those of us who are working with the community would be sure to let the community know as we work with them what these books are saying to us about our children learning. There's absolutely nothing more we can do but work as hard as we can every day in terms of trying to find out what strategies are best for our children? Is there a difference in a Black child's strategy to be used as opposed to other children from other races or groups? What is this about? Why are we doing this? Well, I don't know that anybody really knows the answer. This is what I suspect. Based on not only these three books that I'm going to share with you very quickly, but also with some other books that I've seen and persons I've talked to, what they're saying. One of the most difficult things that they are finding is they really want to know what is it that helps Black children to learn. Do Black children learn differently from other children? And are their styles, as I said earlier, are the styles different or the same? Well, this is what I really, really think about that. And I think there may be some other people that might join me and others who may not join me on this one. I really think that many people have different learning styles. I think that none of them are the same in the sense that don't make an assumption they are the same. There may be some people who have a similar one or may be the same, but don't expect it to be, because everybody has their own way of doing things. We don't often agree with that, and we don't allow them to have their own voice about things because we want them to give the answer that we want them to give. But the truth of the matter is they've given you their answer with their own style and not the one that you're saying that they must use. Learning style, I'm talking about. Learning styles. It's very critical in the art of teaching. And every time we insist that our children do it our way, we've got to be sure that we leave room for them to include their way. And what I mean by that is sometimes we say to our children, I want you to read this out loud. Well, maybe that's not exactly what they prefer to do. They may prefer to speak to you quietly where others aren't listening, or they may decide that they want to write it, or they may decide that they want to wait until they get home and share it with their families. So I'm just using that, but of course there are a zillion ways to do. We say a zillion when there's more than a million and all the other numbers. And of course, we use our own language from the community to describe what we're talking about. In one of the books I want to talk about very quickly is Awakening Natural Genius of Black Children. And it is written by Professor Amos N. Wilson. One of the things I found out about Professor Wilson is he has written so many books. And I tell you, I was counting the books that he had written on education and on Black children and teaching and learning and all of those things that we really want to know more about. And let me tell you, you're going to be reading a long time to read everything he's got out here. But I want you to know that I would definitely recommend all three books. Not that I'm saying most of you probably already have them, and that's a great idea too. I'm glad to know that. But the one thing about Professor Wilson, he's straightforward about his talk. For an example, he comes up with, what is education? Define it. What does it mean to you? Who does it involve? The list goes on of questions. But you see, that's because education is found if you put it into anything you want to talk about. You know, you don't have to pick something out because you just use it when it's appropriate to do so. So you may be talking about socioeconomic education. You might be talking about oil and water education. So the list goes on there. You can literally go to any column and pull out, this is what education is, because all of it is an education. But it's important to note, whatever you call education, just be sure that you're doing it and doing it appropriately. So what is the purpose about putting out information on education? The purpose is you need to know more about it, because here we find ourselves, April 2026, almost the end of April, almost May. But we find ourselves not having mastered the field of education. We find ourselves now, the public schools are not doing well. Teachers leaving the classroom. Teachers can't be found for the classroom. Issues that would surprise anybody if you heard about what is not going on. But I want to remind you that as I've read these books, there's a lot that may not be going on. But what about the things that are going on? What about the teachers that have stayed? What about the teachers that are still there? And yes, their salaries may be very small. For some cases, I'm sure in certain areas of this country, much too small for them to be able to have their own dwellings or to even have food. It's really bad for some people who are trying to make it through the field of education. But we do know that if those of us who care about education, and when I say education, I better push this over, education for our Black children. That's what we're talking about. That's our focus. We want to be sure to stay there on the focus because we need the information in order for us to enhance what should and could be going on and have to be going on in order to deliver. Some Black children are doing very, very well in school. That is absolutely the truth. But the issue is not enough. We ought to be able to educate every child. And I don't need to hear about what every child cannot do. That is not, in my opinion, a description of what we have to say. The truth of the matter is, just like Professor Wilson says in his title, Awakening Natural Genius, Black Children. Of Black children is what it says. And the idea that we have a choice to awaken their natural causes because they're naturally geniuses. I believe it, I know it. I've been in the classroom enough to tell you. And those children that we identify as special needs, they may have special needs or they may not. We may need to get some needs in order to do the teaching or to do the help them learn more or differently or more enhanced. And certainly we would want them to be as we move them through these systems that they have. So what is it that's really got us asking all these questions? What is it that's got us wondering, how do we become successful in teaching our children? And the way we do it is the way we should be doing it. Number one, when we look at some of our other information, including Professor Wilson's, but we have a young lady whose name is Deborah Renetta. Sullivan, Deborah Renetta Sullivan. She too is a professor, and she's the author of Cultivating the Genius of Black Children, Strategies to Close the Achievement Gap in the Early Years. Oh boy, are we glad to hear about this. We are just so excited. When you look at the titles on these books, it just really says it all, even without discussing it so bravely here. Cultivating, that's the job of us as teachers, caregivers, and everyone else that is involved, including family members, with our children. Because they all are geniuses. That's the point. You know, they're right. We've got to get there. We've got a ways to go. Because with this kind of work called education for children, and to identify their geniusness that does exist, we've got to work a little harder. We've got to begin to understand what all of this means. We've got to understand, yes, learning styles, but I can tell you there are about 4 learning styles that we identify all the time: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile. But what we do with those couple of words is, if you notice, the learning styles will have additional words to it so that you will understand clearer about what the word really means and it should mean as we try to understand what it is we're reading. So the question for us and for our children is, I'm not so sure that I know this. That's the child's thinking. I'm not sure I know it. They're trying to think about it. And so they have this puzzled look on their face. We know as teachers exactly what that means. I remember a little boy I had once. He was in 8th grade. It was a summer program. And I always tell the students that I work with that if you need to talk with me, please feel free to come to me when I take a break here or before we leave. We're going to have a few moments that you'll be able to talk to me. So this little boy, he was about 11 years old. And he said, I don't want to talk out loud, teacher. I want to talk to you. And I said, okay. So I told them they had to be quiet and let me talk to him over in the corner. And he said, he started to cry. He said, teacher, I can't read. I said, you can't read? I said, okay, we're going to take care of that, okay? Well, you do know I was waiting to find his parents and family at the end of the school day. I almost had a fit. I was miserable. 24/7. I was miserable till I could get to him and be able to do those things that those of us who enjoy teaching, love teaching, and love children first. And so I did what I needed to do with the family, with the school itself, and with others that I needed to reach out to provide support and ongoing help for him. Because the truth of the matter is, he could read. He didn't know he could, and others didn't know it. But sometimes that happens, and sometimes you don't know the correct answer. But when you're like me, you just keep pushing at it because you know failure is not acceptable in teaching, in the area of teaching. So as I think about him, as I talked about these authors, I was thinking about this little boy who told me he couldn't read. And I would hope that there would be no Black child in the world that couldn't read. I would hope they all could. And I just believe that they can if we can. So it's important as I talk about what it is that we're trying to do and these authors are trying to do in waking up on all sides the real truth of the geniusness within Black children. that needs to be and can be cultivated if only we would allow it to happen. The next author is none other than Mr. Hugh B. Price, who was president of the National Urban League. And he has done a book on Achievement Matters, getting your child the best education possible. So imagine taking this title and looking at the work that was done by Mr. Price. It is very exciting because he takes his time to let you know what to expect at every level. First of all, we should understand that a child, as soon as a child turns before birth, that means they're awake and they know things are going on. They already know that before they're born. That's why you see mothers singing and talking and doing other things, eating too, I'm sure, to contact the child before they were born. Because it does, a lot happens. I know that they're talking about it. They're still testing, from what I understand, in some hospitals across the nation, about testing for babies, what babies are doing prior to birth. But we know that after birth, it's on. It's on. As soon as they hit that air. I remember so well my 3 children, biological children, they all hollered when they got here. And I said, oh, Lord, they must don't want to be here. I didn't know I was right by that time. I was right about that because they don't know what's going on. So some of them yell and scream when they're born. But nonetheless, they are aware of what's going on. And for those of us who are concerned and love children and are concerned about every day, that's very important because they really are learning. And there is a whole session that we need to have on teaching and learning itself so we can get into the strategies that need to be used and the opportunities that need to be set up for our children. But I can assure you that once you find out you're going to be either the parent of a baby or the relative of the baby, just know your help is needed because every child needs to have your attention. Every child needs to have an opportunity to grow, but you must provide certain experiences for the child to be able to be successful as they grow. They want to be. They want to be. And you just see their faces. That's why you've always got to smile when you see a baby. I mean, I find myself doing it at strangers and parents just smile back because they need to see that. They need to know that. They need to feel it. And that's all a part of wanting to learn, desiring to learn, and bringing everything with you when you come. That's important. So you're concerned about every step of the way in growing up for them. And you're concerned about what they do. And so you must always have in your mind one word I like to use consistently anytime I'm talking and about anything regarding education and our children. I always say, watch this, watch this. I have never met a child that didn't want to learn. Never, not one. And I have never met a child that I didn't think in my mind would learn. Now, let me tell you, back in it was in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, and 80s, beginning of 80s, at least, I think. There was this public law that the federal government came out with, and they indicated that all children should have access to public schools. So they opened up the doors, and children who were identified as profoundly, they said retarded. I didn't like that. I don't like that word. But anyway, in a category of being profoundly um, disabled. I don't like that one either. Goodness, I don't like any of these words. But anyway, um, children who apparently, from their physical, uh, looking at them physically, and then when you begin to work with them, there were very few things they could do. Um, I happen to have been one of the persons who was sent into the classroom to work with the teachers on how to work with children who were in that category of profoundly handicapped. Um, and that was that was some experience. I'll always remember it my total life, rest of my life. But I enjoyed it so much. And working with the teachers on how do you work with children like that? Well, the problem that we faced in public school is that the teachers couldn't be with them 24/7. And so that was an issue for them, and the teachers needed assistance. But nonetheless, it was still an experience for those of us who did have a chance to do the work and a desire even more. And let me assure you, they too are geniuses. That when you think sometimes people don't have a genius in them, you think because they don't know your answer or the answer to your question, that has something to do with what they know, and it does not, because they don't have to know what you know. You allow them to tell you what they know. That's what you do. And when they find out that you are listening to them or paying attention to what they're saying or understand what they're saying, those smiles come on their faces so quickly, and you want to keep one on their face so that they will enjoy learning. If nothing else happens, learning should be fun. Learning should be of interest. Learning should take as much time as you want it to take and should be there for them whenever it's needed and desired in a way that they will always remember. Now, one of the things that we want to be sure not to do is don't just want to teach and learn so you can make money. That's not the only reason, but you just shouldn't do that. If you don't want to be there, please go home. It's better for you and better for the children who have to learn with you. So, having said that, are there any questions that I may answer? I've just begun. This is only the first part. Hello?
Dr. Nweze, this is Willie Ann Moore, and
Oh,
I would love to. I have I have loved hearing about your experiences. Uh, can you just share with us how we how you put out the clarion call for someone in NAACP in any state conference or any branch to do whatever it would take in order to help bridge the education gap. We were in Chicago
mm-hmm.
and we heard from President Donovan from the chamber and President Brooks from NAACP, and they were talking about charter schools. Can you just give us a little brief recall on your speech about charter schools and what you said at that conference?
Okay. Sure. I'm not sure that I would be saying what I said at the conference.
Well, just
Because I would have to listen to see what I said is why I'm saying that. Yeah, one of the well, there are quite a few things regarding charter schools, and that's another style, by the way. It's also it has parts of it that falls under learning styles, but yes, charter schools. What is happening with that? The NAACP had to make a choice on what we were going to do as it related to charter schools. And what we voted on, I worked on the committee, and we had a great committee with a great chair. And so we did the research, and we just felt that our children need to have more freedom um, from those ties that exist with charter schools. Number one, who has the money to keep it going? Many parents don't have that, and charter schools generally aren't free. And even when they have a given money, it's not enough to be able to pay for everything that is needed to keep it going with them. The other thing is that charter schools don't have the kind of experiences available that public schools have. That is experience in all areas of curriculum, experience in the arts and other areas that certainly we're used to, sports and music and the whole 9 yards. So they what public schools offer, certainly charter schools cannot do the same. Now, it is not to say people don't need to go to charter schools, because if that's their choice, we want them to make the choice. But when given a choice and you do look at the differences, you can clearly see that that does not work and you can't afford it. That's the main piece that's got with charter schools. And the other piece has to do with teaching. And that is that, quite frankly, when you look at teachers trying to work under the conditions that they have at charter schools, meaning they don't have the amount of, generally most of them, many of them, I should say, don't have the amount of money to get the kinds of things that they need in the public schools that they can do. And yet, when it's in private or charter schools, they don't always have what's needed in order to provide those various areas. In public schools, with all of the number of schools they have, they certainly can have schools doing sciences over here and math over here and other things in different places. Accessibility for charter schools and other private schools, it just isn't there. Does not mean they are not effective. It's just they don't have all of what they need in order to be even more so. And so if you've got to make that choice, you certainly should make it and work with. The other thing that I missed is very important. We've got to have children whose families and parents or family friends, however they do it, but they must have support for a child when it comes to education. Somebody has to be there, and it should be some follow-up by somebody. So children do better, they're stronger, their geniusness is emerging, and you can see it when they start getting the attention. The attention for a child should be 30 minutes and no more than 30 minutes when you start, and your time moves up as you move forward. So I know I said a lot in that few seconds, but it's a lot more to it than that. As you know, we wrote a report on the follow-up of what we did. Ms. Moore?
thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions to Dr. Nweze?
I have a question. Dr. Nweze, I truly appreciate you talking and discussing learning styles and discussing the awakening of genius. Can you give more insight on how that genius looks when we look at like gifted programs or children, the gifts and talents that children bring to the table that are
Mm-hmm.
not under just those two outlooks of academic and intelligence, when
Mm-hmm.
there are so many different areas of giftedness,
Yeah.
how that coincides with learning styles, the diverse learning styles, and just what can we as educators,
Mm-hmm.
parents, and community advocates do to enforce, especially as we look at um, our children or Black children, of the
Mm-hmm.
talents and gifts that they bring, that are not necessarily um, recognized
Yeah.
within the educational setting?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, everybody may not be able to bring the geniuses out on every child, everybody. And the reason I say that is because we don't study it enough to do it. We don't even believe that they're geniuses. That's the first thing we don't bring. The first thing you bring in a situation with a child, period, is they are aware how you feel. And the first thing they should sense that you feel is that they can learn. The second that they need to really feel that you think is that they are genius. You got to give off that they can tell it. Doesn't even have to be words. It's your actions, it's the nonverbal, and it's all of the above. Is there something else I can say?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anyone
Dr.
else?
Dr. Weezy,
Yes, sir.
I know that your passion is best academic practice for Black children, and I know that you've been able to take that to the highest level. What are your going forward beliefs that you need to do as this needs to be rolled out toward the country? What's your vision for us as a part of your team working through the community effort as you spent so much time working within the NAACP in terms of bringing other parents, other teachers, and persons who just genuinely are concerned about Black children, seeing how they're being attacked. At this very moment, the Office of Civil Rights has decided to reverse the Biden administration's decision not to sue the Los Angeles Unified School District, which, as you know, is one of the 5 largest in the nation, because they had special programs to help Black kids learn. And so now the remnants of the Department of Education are going after the Los Angeles School District.
Hmm. My goodness. It never ends, does it?
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse. I didn't want to say it that way, but you're absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. And it's not going to stop. Not only get worse, but it's not going to stop. Uh, and that's a whole nother piece there that to answer your question. We have got to get busy. Those of us who are in the community, whether we're parents or relatives or interested parties, we've got to find a way to organize. And that organizing, which is what you inferred to, but we've got to find a way to organize with parents. And we do it through our community groups where we can, we go to church, we try to get the people at the church to help spread the news. We go to any of the organizational meetings that we attend, that we're involved in, or just visiting, whichever. But we must find a way to pull as many of our parents together as possible so that it is a group effort. And that is the thing that gets you really where you need to go on your decision. You got to work for it. Those persons who come together and pull together as the country is doing now, it really, really requires that we do that. for our children, Black children. If you want to, we want them to learn. We have to work at this because it's nobody's going to come. Very few, any people will come to us. We've got to go to them and be sure we organize, starting with our communities and making sure we organize into for groups as well as individuals, as I said. But yeah, it's that's tough. Education is going to be even tougher as we see it now because they're taking the money out.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Nweze?
There's a hand up, but if
It's my hand. This is Pamela Brown. Can you hear me okay, Dr. Nweze?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anku Jasaneb, I appreciate your comments and your passion so much. My question, yes, ma'am. I wonder if you could speak a little bit on ways that we who do community work can encourage and engage people who regularly teach kids or interact with kids on the importance of teaching cultural identity of Africans pre-enslavement in order to build up that self-esteem of our children. Many of them are just so, it seems to me, are so enamored of popular culture that does not reflect our genius adequately. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I did. I sure do. I'm right there with you. Yes, you go right ahead. I want to hear you. Yeah.
Well, I believe that some of that willingness to do the work, the academic work, I see other cultures that talk about their history. They still have their language and a sense of cultural identity. And Africans here in America, we struggle with that because of the history of enslavement, but and other challenges that go on. But I think that there are individuals, allies, as well as people like ourselves, melanated folk, who realize this is a key thing to a child's self-esteem, and they're believing in their own genius. Do you have just a few suggestions on ways that folk could learn about it, and then incorporate that in the instruction of our kids?
Well, first of all, you're just right on it. You're absolutely correct about the whole piece. But do you know, here we are sitting over 400 years since enslavement. Well, I should have said slavery because we're still enslaved.
Ashe.
Okay. It's not over. And it's getting stronger on their side. When we sit up and we allow a president to be voted in like it's sitting in that office now, and some of us didn't go to the polls, we have to start with the elected officials. And we have to start with understanding it with our children. Let me say this to you. Black children are made to feel that they don't need to be Black because they still treating us like they treated us. The only difference between us and enslavement is they did the killing and the cutting of the third finger on the hand off. But the same message is still being sent to us. We don't count. Children know that. That's why we as parents, neighbors, community leaders, community people, we have got to get together and work together. We won't do that. I don't know what it is we don't like about Black people ourselves. We don't call Black people pretty. Y'all call white people pretty. we have got to get to know and love us. Nobody is going to love us more than we'll love ourselves. 400 years and we still at this? Losing education as fast as we've gained it? 1954 Brown decision. Where's the Brown decision? What we doing by Brown now? We're in trouble.
Dr. Nweze.
Yes, sir.
Perry, I think you had your hand up. Can you unmute for a follow-up question?
Good evening,
Pierre,
everyone.
I'm sorry.
Pierre Rutledge. I don't hide from my name.
Yeah, no, he didn't come here.
A lot of people come in as X and Y and Z. I love the community that
This
I
is
was
my brother, y'all, so y'all know him. Go ahead.
born, raised in, and presently living. I didn't sell my mama's house. I'm still here. The question that I have is, what's next?
Yeah.
You've had our sister on the front line fighting for over 50 years. It's very difficult for me to explain to my kids what the struggle is about because we gave them everything, right? How do we move forward in the future? Here's the given in the equation. I live in a community that was all black. I'm the only black left on the block, right? I live in a state that used to be Democrat and now it's Republican. I'm forced to live in a community where black males, good, bad, or indifferent, whether you went to 25 years in prison or went to get 15 different degrees, are marginalized because of who we are. I live in a community where diversity, equity, and inclusion has become a bad word. What can you give me so that I can give to my kids? And now I'm actually a grandfather, my granddaughter, to say, hold on, help is on the way. I yield with that.
Well, Pierre, you can yield all night. But I'm telling you right now, you know, first of all, you are my brother in the struggle. And you know it, and I know it. And so what are we going to do? We've got to agree to come together first. We won't even sit down and talk to each other. How are we going to get something done? We're sitting in a room where the kind of conversations going on that you raised in your questions with an S. Guess what? Don't nobody want to be there. Don't nobody want to be there. We're sitting up. We should be giving support to you through the Black Affairs Board. We can't even work with those who are in place like yourself to help make things happen. We can't do something walking by your office, leaving you in there. That ain't gonna get it. So, you know, who you are, you paying your dues. You've been an activist. How long we been knowing each other, Pierre?
Forever.
Forever. Is it right?
Dr. Nweze.
Yes, sir.
From a technical standpoint,
Yes, sir.
philosophically, as you answer Pierre's question, Pierre, every Wednesday night, Dr. Nweze meets with a team from 5 different states. Those states, representatives, some of which are on the line from North Carolina Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio, Florida, and I'm here in California. Basically, her team meets every night at 8 p.m. There are solutions that we're about to roll out. This particular symposium is really to ensure that our national leader, Dr. Nweze, can put out the grand vision. But you asked a very technical question, so I want to respond as the lead researcher and train the trainer. We have best practice things for our children. We have the agency to do it. But what I have found in the research is that we have isolates out there like you, i.e., persons who are in spaces and places, but they're not necessarily connected to other people in other places and spaces. So the campaign that will be kicked off on the 1st of May is to recruit 1,001 community people, parents, students across the country that connect around best academic practices, which is what Dr. Nweze charged us with back in December of 2015. So on the 1st, we will be up and running across all social media, recruiting those who profess to care and are willing to take the next step, because we have the agency. It's a matter of having a way of knowing what works. So we have what works. I'm going to try and share something with you for a minute to give you an idea. All of this is available either on websites, YouTube. So we have information that's going to be available for anyone who's willing to promote best academic practice in their community. And when I say promote, it's first just to know, not that we have faith our kids can do it, but know they can do it. And then they would be able to prove they can do it empirically in particular schools, in particular places, and then advocate for those things to be replicated and duplicated across the country, regardless of what state people in. So I'm just going to share one piece here, and that will give you a real 2-minute look at what's going on. And then I can actually send that to you as we move through this particular process, and you can contact us through Dr. Nweze. But the first thing I'm just going to give you is a view of the what we term best academic practice models. And this is a particular model. It's an ABC model, trying to keep it very simple, meaning what's the attitude, behavior, and communication skills that our kids have. That's number one. But if you flip that to academic side, it's encouraging our kids to be great ABC students. You don't have to be a straight A student, but if you're doing all that you can and the best that you can, C's get degrees. This particular model is designed to show that we can bring our kids together, we can bring our families together. We train parents across the country. This has already been set up. Mrs. Moore, do you see Parent Student Union?
We see it.
Okay.
Yes.
Through the Parent Student Union, parents anywhere in the country can go in and learn about literally how they can come together to do things, how they can join, what it's about, in terms of awaken, educate, encourage, because parents are going to have to take some responsibility within the context of what they have the skills to do, not teach aeronautical engineering or chemistry or physics, but they are capable of doing certain things. There's a space that they can actually listen to principals who we've brought in and created this playlist for them. And these are principals of 100% poverty schools that are scored in the top 20% in their particular state. Various principles. So there are tools that have been put in place deliberately. And then from a family standpoint, we have the same thing there. So since Dr. Nweze made this clarion call back in 15, we've actually created models that can work in any city, any school district, in any state. So the next step is to start the campaign of recruiting people across the country through social media, making sure they have the tools, making sure that they can look at those things in the comfort of their home. They don't necessarily have to go to a meeting to learn. They have access to who to contact and how to contact and how this can all be done. So to answer your question, best academic practice models are specific to anyone, anywhere deciding that they want to do something for our kids and are ready to do it. And we have the tools, the best practice tools, the best academic practice schools. And the reason that we went after researching 100% poverty schools that are achieving, or Black African descendant students who meet or exceed the proficiency of any state. It doesn't matter what the state is. And we do it very specifically based on the fact that we know the tests are biased. The question is, how do you compensate for the bias and still achieve at the high level? So I hope that answers from a technical standpoint, not only where we're going in this campaign that kicks off on the 1st of May, who we are targeting, and we're only targeting we the willing. We can train people in anything, but they have to bring the willingness and the courage to help our kids themselves. So I hope that answers some of your questions.
And it can be done without money.
So Pierre, did that answer any of your questions? I think he's on mute.
Yes, it did.
Okay, great. And all of that information is available. It's all public information. And the entire team has it. As I said, and we can make that happen. So are there any other questions for Dr. Nweze?
I have one. Clarence Nicholas from Wisconsin. Dr. Nweze, you mentioned that we're in 2026 and having not mastered the field of education. But can you share something about that you would like us to know?
In terms of us not sharing
mastered in any way, mastered you use.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Well, that is really not hard at all. Whenever you talk with someone, and it was one of the things that I didn't finish talking about, but it started from the attitude that you have when you talk to children. You have to use an attitude with adults as well. They have to know that you want to be there so you can encourage them to be there, where you are, rather, in terms of the activities that you want them to do or the strategies you want them to use, or just plain having a conversation about it so we can get started for those of us who are interested in doing that. So it's something that you have to make the difference. And we have to, kind of talk to our people a little more than we do, because I don't think we talk to them enough, those of us who are interested in doing this work and want the community, just like we were asking the community to come and be a part of best practices. We want to ask them to come and be a part of this education for our children. And so we have got to work a little harder than what we do in terms of getting the people to come. Some of us are working very hard. We just need to keep at it. But we've got to convince somebody to come on board. So because we don't have enough people out here on the ground. That's what we need, working in these communities. Got to have it. It's hurting, but that's an important question. Vanessa? Sarah, Vanessa? Oh, I'm sorry.
Tricia has a question.
So, so not a question, and then I'll yield to my sister, my big sister, Vanessa Byers, that's on the line. But I want to say this because as mom, she talks about this. She eats, sleeps, and drinks education. And I remember coming up, one of the things that she said most that stuck out back to the gentleman who asked her a question about what are some of her suggestions. A lot of times she says if we go back to the basics, Black teachers were one of the most phenomenal people in a child's life. And my mother did this. She used to say to the parents, give that child to me and you go to work. If you have to do their homework with them, I haven't done my job. I will feed them. I will make sure they have clothes on their back and I will teach them. We have got to go back. This is what she says. These are her words. Go back to the basics sometime. Another thing, education colleges. We've got to start challenging our organizations to raise more money to make sure Black children are able to attend college and make education something that is inward. It's not something that could be always trained. You have to either want to do it. It doesn't pay a lot of money. You have to want to do it, as she says, or not. The other thing is the most important thing, our NAACP branches and organizations of the like have to challenge our county commissioners, our school board members, and those individuals that are in authority of elected officials. And if they are not working out, we need to make sure that we vote people in that have the best interests of our communities. So those are some things that I know she speaks about constantly that is going to be what we need. The last thing I'm gonna leave you with, charter schools are not going anywhere. And I'm going to say this really quick. When I talked about train up a child, I came from the private sector. I never would have in a million years thought I would be working for education. I am now 27.65 years in education. Okay? If we as Black people got together and pooled our resources and start getting our own charter schools, they will send that money back to public education, guaranteed. So I wanted to say that because this is something that she lived and we watched day to day. There was a time when she would take children home. I would come home sometime and children would be in my house and I'm saying, who is this child? I'm gonna leave you with one other funny story and then I'm gonna let Vanessa speak. My father came home. My mother used to have all kind of kids in the house. My father came home and this particular child was our neighbor and she was our lighter brother and sister.
Right.
She was our neighbor. She was white and the little girl was in the house and my mother had her hair wrapped in a scarf. And my father said, "You look like Aunt Jemima taking care of somebody's babies." That was the last time that race of child came to our house. And I know that is the most that's the story that she always tells when she talks to us about. But it's a testimony to who she was, and she's grounded in believing in the education of our children in particular. So, Vanessa, Jim, I'm going to yield to you through the chair.
Well, Vanessa, you can unmute and go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I
That's
just
by
want to
Sarah. That's by Sarah. That's by Sarah.
absolutely and just allow me a moment because my queen mother, soror, dear friend, we have not had a chance to actually speak. And your wayward daughter just let me know about this morning. She didn't say anything. She just sent me a text message. And then she has me speaking now because I was on mute. But she has me speaking following these wonderful comments. But I am so glad. I'm in a noisy place, so I hope you can hear me. But I am so glad I had an opportunity to be a part of this. And it does bring me back to my days as a school board employee, although my background is finance and accounting. I'm going to say this, I'm not going to take up too much of anyone's time, but I love you, Sora Dora, and I appreciate everyone on this call, especially those of you who are in education, because Sora Dora and I often speak on education, and I am going to get back with you with a project that is in my lap right now, because I often even tell Tresca that you remind me about our brains being used too much, uh, and we need to let our brains rest. And I need to, instead of adapting my FAMU's SBI mode of time is money, and I don't have time to, talk, let's get this out of the way. I have to go back and do what you said. I'm trying really hard, Soror. I have to go into what? Third grade teacher mode. That is the mode that reaches not only children, but also adults. Both of my parents were educators, and of course, a lot of people around me were educators. So I did need this whole education vibe. So I thank all of you for putting this together today. You thought it was about you, Sora Adora, but this was really something that I needed. I really, really do appreciate you all. I miss you all. And my dad always said that education was the way. Education is the way, and you all reminded me of that today. Whatever I can do, Sora Adora, I'm here for you. And thank you everyone. And I see my brother Ronald on. Hey Ronald, love you all. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mrs. Byers, this is Jim McWilson. From this particular thing, the reason for this one is Dr. Nweze is our national leader. So there is an ask coming out of every symposium. I mentioned this earlier, because where everyone is in their space is to become promoters of best academic practice models for Black students in your city, in your state. Once we can switch from the deficit model of the constant deficits and promote best academic practice models and know what we're doing and know how to prove it with standards that have been set, we're looking for 1,001 promoters across the country. So hopefully you'll be one of those promoters.
There's some other hands, huh?
Someone else has a hand up.
No, it's no one else with their hand up.
Samsung just came in. Mrs. Mills, do you have a question? Anyone else?
Okay, I'll ask a question. This is Louis Muhammad from Youngstown, Ohio. And my thoughts are, I noticed your daughter talked about the child that was in your house and you wrapped her hair. And it shows the quality of your heart to not be centered on just your own children, but you were taking interest in all children. And with what has happened to African people in America and us flying Old Glory and this patriotism piece that creates fear, what do you say to people who don't necessarily have the fortitude to talk about the need for something special to be done for Black children in education? What can we say to that sector of our community that wants to lump it all like you got special needs children. I'm pretty sure that there's special things done for their education. And after what Black people went through in America, what do you say to people who just want to blame parents and not want to step up to the plate and look at actually closing the education gap that 400 years of slavery started in our community? What do we say to those people who have a problem with us saying Black children?
Quite a few of them, I tell you. It's we have to just keep right on. That's what some of my friends are telling me now, that I need to, come and help to do this. And I'm not sure, but what I do want to make sure is that we don't leave out those who are standing ready. There's some who are standing ready and may not know how to ask, or may feel that they don't know how to ask. They do, but they don't feel comfortable with it. You have to take the opportunity, and what it generally starts with people that you may or may not know, is with a smile and a pleasant. That's why I was talking about the pleasant personality you have, because you got to, in order to talk to people about something, you have to be sure that they feel comfortable in talking to you. Right. So a lot of people don't think about that, but you have to really give strong consideration to how you're coming across when you're trying to get them to do it, something that they're not doing. We just got to get busy on interacting better with each other. We just got to. That was one of the first things I talked about, if you recall. How we don't seem, I don't know whether we're afraid of each other. I just don't know what's going on right about now. But we better get it together. I can say that, because with us losing public education as we're losing it, and as we're having to ensure that our children get the very best education that they can, we better hurry up and get busy. We're way behind. And we already know that when Black children, this is what the studies show now, this is not me, so don't throw nothing at me through this phone. The studies show that Black children do not do as well as white children. And they're still putting that stuff out there. I don't like studies like that, because, first of all, I don't believe it. But I do believe that they got a system that holds us back. Now, I don't know what system they're using to hold Black children back. If I knew, I would tell y'all and expose it to everybody. But there's something being done that's holding our children back, y'all. I don't know what it is, because we're trying to learn about test scores being manipulated in our country. We do know about that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we know about test scores. The same source would be the play with grades too, grade averages and everything else. I don't believe any, because we're in a system. Those systems just are not geared for us. FOR, for us. We've got a problem. That's why I was going through that, because it's real. After 400 years, we still fighting segregation and desegregation and all that other stuff going with. Why are we still on the same subject?
Dr. Nweze, may I ask you a follow-up question?
Yes, ma'am.
What does best practices mean to you?
Well, freedom. Freedom. With best practices, I don't have to worry about being told I can't say that, or that's not in line with what we think. The respect level is high in best practices. The willingness to do the work is with best practices. Best practices does not mind being called 24/7. best practices. You can pick up the phone and call us anytime.
Ashe.
Yes. I mean, the list goes on.
For those of you that are on, this is the actual promotion logo that we're using. We have already been able to identify schools across the country with a particular standard that we're looking for on state bias standardized tests. So we know that it works. We are using that information to then write a story to counter the negative narrative. And that's the whole purpose of this being a campaign and not a program, because their campaign is to promote the negative narrative and promote those at the bottom, as opposed to promoting the ones who have already achieved. And so again, all of us that are on the call, if you would put in the chat your interest to be a promoter for best academic practice schools, you can look in your state, your city, and if you don't know, and we can use our criteria, we can actually pull it up for you, because it's going to be that promotion. It's going to take voices. Their voices now are many. There are many negative voices even in our own community. So this is what we will be using front and center for promoting best academic practice models for Black students. So as I said, we know it exists. We know the empirical data is there. We know the people who are egalitarian in their educating of all children, but we have to start with those who are egalitarian and those whose outcomes from their egalitarian educating of our children can empirically show that they can do what we know they can do, what we have faith they can do. But at the end of the day, you have to prove it. So our job starting the 1st of May is to prove it. So if you'd like to participate in that, it's like public relations and marketing for a new image. Any other questions for Dr. Nweze? Okay, so my expectations from everyone that's on the call, especially those who belong to her sorority, that you'll step up to the plate and become a promoter. So that's your challenge.
All right. You hear that? Any AKs out there?
I volunteer, Soror Willie Ann Moore, Toledo, Ohio.
Mrs. Byers has said that she will. So I see it in the chat. I appreciate it very much, because that's really what it's going to, it takes ordinary people. One of the things that we were able to prove, and this can be replicated anywhere, we went into Youngstown, Ohio, where they said it couldn't be done. And we were able to bring 2,000 to 3,000 parents and students together on a regular basis, 10 years in a row. And that was in a city that's 43% poverty, a school district that was 100% poverty school district. So those models are available. And anyone that wants to understand how the model works, they're easy. They don't require a lot of money. They simply require someone that wants to promote the best while they advocate for the rest. So we're looking forward to that. Anything else? Well, Dr. Nweze, we're going to give you the last word.
I'm going to introduce, right?
No, you're just going to do whatever you want to do. You have the last word. It's your keynote.
I'd like to introduce my soror friend and supporter. I'm just so honored to present to you Miss Willie Ann Moore, who has 39 years of diverse education managerial experience, a Golden Heritage Life member of the NAACP with over 54 years of service, She served as president of the NAACP Toledo branch from 1990 to 2000 and was active in the NAACP Ohio State Conference. Ms. Moore received the 2005 President's Woman of the Year Award and the 2008 Benjamin Hooks Keeper of the Flame Award at the 99th Annual NAACP Convention in Cincinnati. She holds a master's degree and is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. My soror and friend, Willie Ann Rohr.
Thank you, Soror Nweze. I would like to say to everyone that is on this call that Dr. Nweze is my role model. She gave the clarion call in Chicago and asked if there were anybody that could help close the education gap of Black children, to do whatever they could do. She said, just do it. Let me know, and I will work with you in any way that I possibly can. I went to her, I told her, I said, Soror, I think Ohio may have something that you may approve of. She said, well, when you get it together, you let me know. We started in 2015 and we didn't call her until 2018. But when we called her, the Ohio Task Force, felt that they had something to offer. When we presented to her, she said, you know what? I think that you have something. She says, as a matter of fact, I know you have something because I have not heard this before. I have not heard of a positive program, or a positive, not program, but a positive way of speaking about our children. She says this is a positive dynamics that I have not heard before. She said, we only hear about what our children cannot do. She said, but you are bringing me something that's telling me that this is from a positive deficit. And from that point on, she says, I will work with you in any way that I can. She started working with us in 2018, and this is 2026. She has not stopped. She has got historic legislation passed on the executive level of NAACP. Everything that she presented has been approved, and now we are going to roll out with the campaign on May 1st. I salute you, my soror. I salute you. I thank you. I love you. And I cannot say enough, but all Black children will have your name engraved and entrenched in their brain because your legacy will live on forever. Thank you so much. We love you.
Thank you.
And what you see on the screen, to kind of back up what Mrs. Moore was saying, once we learn this particular process, these are all the lead members on the Ohio State Task Force, of which Dr. Nweze moved forward. So as you can see, a lot of structural work is in place, and we're moving forward with all of that. We're also able to look at the top 10 schools. So a lot of work has been done. Again, it's just replicated and duplicated across the country. And that's the reason for the recruitment process that will kick off on May 1st to move this from a community perspective while the NAACP is decided in their time frame. So thank you very much. And for those of you who have already volunteered, if you're in the AKA, please contact Dr. Nweze. If you're not, contact her anyway so that she can get to her team. She has a full team that meets every single night, every night since January 2018 at 8 p.m. Eastern. So any information that you might need, one of us will be able to supply you. And with that, Dr. Nweze, we can conclude unless there are any other questions. And someone just came in, so I want to wait.
Does Sid Berry want to say something?
Mrs. Sidbury's coming up next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had a question for you earlier. That's what she was doing, prepping from your answer to your question.
Dr. Nweze, this is Darla. I pledge to continue to bring my support. I'm going to challenge my NCNW sisters that I know to sign on where they can. And I'll continue to bring the positive words for you and our team as we move forward. We love you.
Thank you. I love you all too.
Very good. Okay, anyone else?
Dr. Nweze, this is Miss Sidbury. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Those were some awesome words. And as Darla just stated, I continue to pledge, recruit, retain, pass on all the knowledge that you have given us under your leadership. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Berry.
Okay. I think that's it. Well, your team is ready, and we will be meeting in about an hour and a half to follow up. So I would say thanks to all of you who attended. Again, the whole purpose of today is to prepare us to kick off the campaign on the 1st of May. And again, we're looking to recruit 1,001 schools, 1,001 teachers, 1,001 advocates who will promote best academic practice models, and will be using social media to do that. So again, my name is Jimmy McWilson. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gemma.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.